The scene begins with a simple moment, but like many moments on Love and Marriage Huntsville, one small action opens the door to deeper tension, quiet emotions, and the truth people would rather avoid. What starts as a casual setup for an event slowly turns into a conversation that exposes how many feelings remain unsettled, especially between Nell and LaTisha. As the group gets ready for a gathering and prepares cards, numbers, and games, the real question becomes clear. Is Nell willing to talk to LaTisha, or has the door finally closed for good? The room is calm at first. There are cards on the table, cups lined up, and questions being sorted out for the event. Nell is focused on making sure everything is organized the right way. She is checking the cards, rolling them, and putting them into the bowl. The simple act of preparing these questions shows how she wants the night to go smoothly, without problems, without confusion. She is doing her part, trying to make sure everything is set up for fun. But even during this light moment, the energy shifts as soon as LaTisha's name comes up. While Nell handles the cards, someone casually asks her a question. "Have you talked to LaTisha?" And just like that, the tone changes. Nell does not hesitate at all. Her answer is quick, sharp, and honest. No. For what? That response alone tells you everything you need to know. It is clear that the issues between her and LaTisha are not forgotten. Even when people think the air is cleared, the feelings are still there. There is still frustration, still irritation, still something that has never really been healed. The person asking tries to push the question gently. They clarify that they are referring to LaTisha Scott, as if there is a chance Nell might pretend she did not hear right. But Nell knows exactly who they mean, and she knows why she is being asked. The situation becomes uncomfortable for a moment. Even though they are preparing for a fun night, even though everyone is supposed to relax and enjoy the games, there is no escaping the fact that unresolved tension has a way of hanging in the air. They ask her again if she is willing to talk to LaTisha, not to fight, not to argue, but simply to clear the air so things do not become awkward later. This is supposed to be about peace, about keeping the night smooth, but Nell is firm. She says she thought everything was already cleared. She believed that whatever needed to be said had been said. She makes it clear that she is not holding on to anything on her end. She is not carrying extra weight. She is not angry. She is just done. And when she says she is over it, she means it. It is not said with anger. It is said with exhaustion. Anyone who has ever dealt with repeated misunderstandings, repeated conversations, repeated back and forth with someone who keeps returning to old problems knows exactly what Nell means. She is tired of talking in circles. She is tired of thinking something is resolved, only for it to come back again later. She has no interest in repeating the cycle. The person trying to encourage the conversation brings up the point we have all seen play out many times. When it comes to the women on the show, someone can talk and feel good one moment, and then later, someone says something new or brings up something old, and the cycle starts again. Nell listens to this point, and she cannot argue with it. She has seen it too many times. She says that with the women, something is always said, and then there is always another conversation, and she is simply done with it. She is not trying to keep energy going. She is not looking for drama. She has reached a place where she just wants peace. As all this is happening, the physical scene stays the same. They keep stirring the questions in the bowl, lining up the cups, and preparing the games. The contrast is almost dramatic. On one hand, there is tension in the air, but on the other hand, they are still doing something playful, still getting ready to entertain a group. It shows how life works sometimes. People try to enjoy the moment, even when emotions run in the background. Nell continues organizing the cards. She wants the event to flow well. She wants everyone to have their number when they walk in. She wants the setup to feel complete. And in the middle of all this preparation, we see the real picture. She is willing to host. She is willing to participate. She is willing to do her job. But she is not willing to go backwards emotionally. She is not going to reopen wounds, especially not for the sake of someone else's comfort. The conversation shifts slightly as they talk about transparency. They laugh a little, trying to lighten the mood. Someone mentions how this event is supposed to be full of transparency, as if the games and questions will force people to open up. But even with all this talk about transparency, Nell is clear about her boundaries. She is fine being open, but she is not going to give energy to something she has already let go. And then, the conversation touches on something deeper, how women can talk things out, think the issue is resolved, and yet somehow find themselves having the same conversation again weeks later. Nell agrees with this reality. She has seen it with her own eyes. She has lived through it. This is why she is not eager to go through it one more time. She has spoken her truth. She has said what she needed to say. She will not revisit the same thing again just because someone else wants to feel better. The group keeps preparing the cups and checking them one by one. They count them, confirm everything is there, and continue with the setup. Even though there is tension in the air, the work still has to get done. It is almost symbolic. People can struggle, argue, and disagree, but life keeps moving. Events still need planning. Things still need organizing. As the scene goes on, they joke about one of the games, the toilet paper game. Someone asks if this game was her idea, and Nell laughs it off, telling them not to worry about it. She explains how it works, talking about rolling off toilet paper and lint and fun activities designed to get everyone engaged. This shows that even though the conversation got tense earlier, Nell can still laugh, still enjoy herself, still focus on having a good time. She has the ability to switch back to light energy, which shows that she truly is not holding on to anything heavy. But beneath the laughter and the small jokes, the truth still sits quietly. Nell does not want another conversation with LaTisha. She does not want another exchange that will lead right back to the same stressful place. This is not anger. It is self-protection. It is learning from past experiences. It is choosing peace over repetition. And the way she said, "For what?" tells us exactly how she feels. To her, there is nothing left to discuss. The person who brought up LaTisha tries to make sense of it, but they also seem to understand her position. They know that everyone is trying their best, but they also know that old issues do not disappear just because people pretend they do. They know that asking Nell to talk again is asking her to open up something she already closed, and Nell simply refuses to do that. What stands out most in this moment is the calmness in Nell's voice. She is not angry. She is not loud. She is not triggered. She is just done. Her peace matters more than another conversation that will go nowhere. She has lived enough to know when to stop repeating herself, and she has learned that not every situation deserves another meeting, another call, or another attempt at resolution. The scene ends with the final touches being made for the event. They talk about making sure everyone gets a number and preparing for the guests to arrive. They mention adding an extra number in case someone like Lance shows up. The small details bring the moment back to something simple, something easy. The energy shifts back into planning mode, but the emotional weight of the earlier conversation still lingers. When we step back and look at the entire moment, the message becomes clear. Sometimes peace does not come from talking things out again. Sometimes peace comes from accepting that you said what you needed to say the first time. Sometimes peace comes from walking away from the cycle instead of stepping back into it. And that is exactly where Nell is. This moment shows us something important about relationships on Love and Marriage Huntsville. So many conflicts come from people thinking they are done, only to find out later that someone brings up old hurt again. People think an issue is dead, but then someone else talks about it behind the scenes, or on camera, or during a group event. And suddenly, people are pulled back into the same storm they thought they left. But Nell refuses to be pulled back. She's choosing maturity. She's choosing boundaries. She's choosing a calm life over one more emotional conversation with LaTisha. And whether everyone agrees with her or not, her decision makes sense. At some point, a person becomes tired of fighting the same battle and explaining the same feelings. At some point, a person learns to walk away. Throughout this entire moment, one thing is clear. Nell has made her choice. She's not angry. She's not bitter. She's simply done repeating herself. She is focusing on the event, the games, the setup, and the fun ahead. She is not going to let old issues become the center of yet another gathering. She is not allowing herself to be dragged back into a tired storyline. As the night approaches and the games are being finalized, it becomes obvious that the group will move forward whether or not Nell and LaTisha speak. People do not always need a conversation to move on. Sometimes silence itself is a boundary. Sometimes silence is the answer. And in that silence, Nell finds peace. This moment shows us how emotional exhaustion can shape a person's decisions. When someone says, "For what?" they are not rejecting the other person. They are rejecting the cycle. They are rejecting the emotional drain, the constant back and forth, the repeated misunderstandings. They are saying, "I am choosing myself this time," and there is power in that. As the preparations continue, you can feel the contrast between the two energies in the room. On one side, there is fun, laughter, games, and teamwork. On the other side, there is quiet, emotional truth. And the way the scene blends these two sides shows exactly how life works. Even when someone is dealing with unresolved feelings, life does not stop. People still have responsibilities, tasks, and plans. The entire moment ends with a simple reminder. Not every question needs an answer. Not every conflict needs another conversation. And not every relationship requires another chance. Sometimes, protecting your peace is the most honest thing you can do. And that is where we leave Nell, calm, focused, organized, and at peace with her decision, refusing to re-enter a conversation she has already walked away from, and moving forward with strength and clarity.